What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Ask the Expert live Q&A with me, Joe Everest, the fence expert. Hope you guys are doing super well. Welcome, everyone, one and all. If you guys are just joining us, of course, everybody's just joining us, I guess, but leave a comment below. Let me know who you are and where you're from. I always like to start this off by saying hey to everybody and kind of see where in the world everybody's from. Start off, Matthew from the San Francisco Bay Area. Welcome, Matthew. Fence King, you're not, I think I may be lost. Is this where I can find the self-proclaimed fence expert? Question mark, exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point. Yeah, you know, you're not even lost here, Dan. You know you're at the right place. What is up, everybody? So I hope everybody's having a super swell week. You know, it's winter time, so things are a bit slower, but not really as slow as they normally are, right? So it's kind of an odd winter, at least for us. And going through the Facebook groups, the other fence professional Facebook groups, it sounds like pretty much everybody's in the same boat. This winter hasn't really slowed down much at all. It's still full throttle forward. So here in Southwest Missouri, specifically at Ozark Fence, it's been pretty busy. We're still making good progress on the new building, or buildings, I guess. We're having to do a remodel for the front office. It was originally a house. It was built back in the 50s. Not exactly sure when it was built. The first plot, or the oldest plot map I can find that shows it on, it's back in 57. So there's a few things that need to be done. But everybody's hard at work over there, getting that up and running and ready. Of course, once that's done, we can run some networking through the building and get everything ready to do this live from the new YouTube studio. But one thing at a time, one foot in front of the other. And so let me know how you guys are doing, how the how things are going in your neck of the woods. What's your opinion? Stephen Albert asks, what's your opinion on Postmaster post system for wood fence? Oh, Stockton, Missouri. No kidding. Stephen, I'm down in Springfield, Missouri. So I'm actually just a little ways from you, not far, basically neighbors. We like the Postmaster system a lot. I specifically use, or our business specifically uses, the Postmaster Plus post when we're installing wood fence. There's other purpose-built posts out there. There's Lifetime Post, Gregory Post, I believe, is another one. There's a few other posts out there that are purpose-built. We like the Postmaster Plus. They're kind of the original post that was purpose-built for wood fence, and we like to stick with what we know, right? We like it a lot. So now there's now they have a lifetime warranty. Before they had, I don't know, I had to go look at some old brochures. I think they're 20, 25-year warranty, but after further testing, they went ahead and made that a lifetime warranty. So my opinion is I like the Postmaster post system a lot. Kenny Dugan is with us. What is up, Kenny? Stain man, indeed. Hope you're doing super well. Now, Kenny, remind me, are you down in the Texas area? Is that right? I'm trying to remember. But what is up, Kenny? I bet Kenny, so this is kind of a nice segue. As you guys can see scrolling below, we've got the Stain and Steel Expert Staining University coming up. I'll be guest speaking there, as well as so Sean, Mr. Fence, if you guys watched the live interview last week, Sean's going to be there putting on a training of his own. So he's doing a week-long summit style for Mr. Fence Academy, culminating in him building fence and teaching others how to build fence at the Stain and Steel University 2021. So I am incredibly humbled to be asked to speak. I'll be talking about all things marketing. That's just something that I enjoy and that I seem to be fairly good at. But also, I'll be there for, gosh, what is it? 5 days, I guess, four usable days. I'm going to fly in Wednesday morning and then fly out Sunday morning. So we'll be talking about marketing, but also I'll be around. I'd love to meet you guys if you guys are going to be able to make it and talk about all things marketing and business, etc. But all that being said, I bet Kenny's going to be there. All right, Dallas Forward. That's what I thought. I was thinking Texas. All right, so far we got the San Francisco Bay Area. Now, we know Fence King is down in Louisiana, I believe. Actually, I'm fairly sure it's Louisiana. And then we've got Steven here from Stockton, which is in my backyard. And then Kenny's in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So, very good. We're We're growing. We're growing. Let us know if you just joined us. Let us know you're here by saying hi and let me know where you're from. Matthew Fosenberg says, question about 2x4 stringers. With pricing being what it is these days on wood, is it all right to use Douglas fir, not contacting the ground, compared to redwood or pressure treated lumber? Douglas fir is a pine. Fir, I get, but it probably still need to be treated though. Anytime you use a lumber outdoors, you either want it to be naturally treated or have a pressure treatment applied to it. Even if you're using untreated lumber, I'm not super familiar with Douglas fir. I mean, I've seen it talked about in other groups. If it's untreated, I still wouldn't use it, only because it's still, out in the elements day in and day out. So rot is a pretty significant concern. Also, warping and twisting could be a concern. Although if it's not treated, it's probably going to dry a little bit more evenly, which would lead it to twist less. I don't know. If the Douglas fir is treated, I'd say go for it. If it's untreated, I wouldn't chance it. Even if it's not ground contact, it's still going to be out in the elements. Sean King, Mr. Fence, is in the house. What is up, Sean? We're just mentioning that you're going to be a part of the university being put on February 25th and 26th. So all the fence guys and gals out there that want to learn a thing or two and improve themselves on the fence building side should make plans to attend and join your seminars and the pro days you're putting on. So I'm super excited. To participate in that. I'm not sure what the schedule looks like quite yet. So I hope that I'm going to actually be able to attend the fencing portion of it. I mean, here's the thing, guys. You could, a guy could build fence or a gal could build fence for 30 years and still have room to learn something, right? I mean, the day we quit learning is the day we stop moving ahead, right? So I am really looking forward to learning from Sean. It's going to be huge. You bet, Sean. I am absolutely, I was excited before talking with you last week. But as I talked to you and I talked to Caleb and I talked to other guys that are attending and they're putting things together, I am incredibly excited. I went to the university last year. I say last year, 2020, right? And I was blown away by how much information was put out there, how much hands-on training there was there. I mean, because here's the thing, right, is it's free. So there is a perception that, well, if it's free, maybe I'm not going to get that much value. I mean, because the saying is you get what you pay for, right? Not true. I was blown away with how much. And so last year's was a 1 day, and Caleb and his team absolutely rocked it. I mean, in the morning, there was some classroom work, right? Some I don't know about theory behind staining, but basically some classroom work on staining and sealing, business and marketing, that sort of thing. But then actually they took folks out and showed them the correct application procedures with their product. And then that was about 5 minutes. And the rest of it was they turned it over to everyone in the group and said, all right, it's your turn to stain. Let's stain it. Let's get you some real world hands-on experience. So I was pretty impressed with how it went last year. And I think it went incredibly well. So when Caleb announced it for 2021, actually you and Caleb kind of did this in conjunction, it sounds like, to take the place of the fence tech that unfortunately got canceled. I was like, yeah, that makes so much sense that Sean and Caleb get together and put this on. It is, I'm excited for it, guys. I really am. And that's right. So you do want to come with an open mind, right? So when in the early days of this channel, when each video had an intro, right? And it basically said, this channel is based on the culmination of the knowledge I've learned from my dad and my granddad. It went on to say there are always more than one way to perform a task, but these are our ways, right? But you need to come with an open mind, because I mean, the worst thing you could possibly do is say, well, that's all well and good, but the way we do it is, which is fine. There is more than one way to perform any given task and to get to any given result. But coming in with an open mind, I mean, if anything, you could learn a little tip or trick to make yourself more efficient. Maybe raise the level of the quality a little bit. Open mind is always huge. It really is. And it's probably going to be one of these things, we talked about this before, coming with an open mind and just being open to, learning new things, and that you don't know what you don't know. Right. And just bettering yourself and the industry as a whole. I'm super excited. Rushy Shackelford, if you chose another trade to learn, what trade would you choose? Oh man, that's a hard question, right? It's not something you generally think about a whole lot. I follow Roger Wakefield, who he's the expert plumber down in he's down in Kenny's neck of the woods, down in the Dallas Fort Worth area. Plumbing, watching him talk about plumbing really kind of intrigues me. And if I wasn't a fence guy, I might think about being a plumber. I also have some cousins that do electrical work. They're certified electricians, master electricians, that sort of thing. Just watching them work around our place, and whether it's whatever electrical, adding outlets here or there and all that, and then watching them wire up these big buildings that we're fencing and all that. Electrician might be kind of an interesting trade too, but I don't know. I mean, I assume you mean like completely away from fence, because if it's a different sector of fence, whether away from fence installation, staining and sealing would obviously be a nice sub trade to be in. If we're not, if fence installation is a sub trade and then staining and sealing is a separate one, I'd probably go there. But if you're asking me for a completely separate trade from fencing, it would probably be a toss up, between plumbing and electrical, maybe. Both of those still keep you outside and still keep you interacting with clients and all that, which is something I enjoy, meeting new people and interacting and hearing their stories and learning from them. Yeah. Why don't you guys let me know? That's it. Rusty's got a great question. So why don't you guys let me know in the comments below too, what trade do you think you would be in? If you are a professional fencer, but you woke up tomorrow morning and said, you know what, I'm going to be something else. What would you be? Let me know. Let me and Rusty know in the comments below. Yeah, so if you guys, talking about the Stay and Seal University with teaming up with Mr. Fence, if you guys want more information, we do have a link in the comments below. It's a Google sheet. There's some information there. You guys can also join the Facebook group, the Stay and Seal University Facebook group. I think Caleb said he's going to have more information as it becomes available there. But yeah, the link in the description below also takes you to a sign-up sheet so that it is free, but they'd like to know how many people they need to prepare for. So if you guys are planning on attending, hit that link in the comments below and let them know. All right. Wade says he's really looking forward to the training. Wade, I can't wait to see you there. You know what we ought to do? We ought to do kind of like a Fence Fam meetup, maybe one evening or something like that. What we did last year. So the day before the training, we all went out to dinner at a really nice Mexican restaurant there in town, there in Lebanon. We ought to try to do something like that again. I'd like to meet you guys in person, and those dinners are always such a good time. And so Sean and I talked about this last week, where you do get a lot of value out of the trainings. I don't want to belittle that at all, but it seems like no matter how much education and how much you further yourself at the actual event, it always seems like you get just as much, if not more, out of the after hours portions of the events, right? This happens to me almost everywhere I go. We'll sit down and I'll be having dinner with other folks from the convention or the training or wherever we're at. And one thing leads to the next, and now they're closing the restaurant down. They're taking the plates away, and it's basically one of those, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And we've just spent 2 or 3 or 4 hours talking about whatever the subject matter is, right? So if it's fence tech, we spent 4 hours talking about fence, about how, we run our business and learning from how other people run their business. And if it's one event that I love going to that unfortunately got canceled for this year is Social Media Marketing World. It's an incredible, I think it's 4 days, the training itself, I think it's 3 or 4 days. I usually go for 5 days. And, but it's an incredible 4 or 5 days jam-packed with just all the social media marketing knowledge you could ever think you want. But the evenings are always spent talking about how to take that knowledge and apply it to your specific niche, right? I always tend to gravitate towards construction-related trades, home service-related trades. And so this past year's, there's a gentleman from the Northeast that runs a company called ZK Painting. And it was he and I talking about, he is crushing it with Instagram. if you guys get the chance, you ought to you ought to search ZK Painting. Follow that guy's Instagram channel. I'm not a painter, but I still follow the channel. I love seeing his content. But he and I, and there's a few others, really sat down and spent several hours talking about how to apply all of this knowledge into our niche. So I really look forward to doing something like that with you guys. We ought to put something like that together. Rushy says, I'm in trucking right now. I want to learn more trades like plumbing and HVAC. I want to learn things with roofing and more. Anything to do with fixing a home. Absolutely, Rusty. You know, and here's a conversation we can have in that trades in general, whether we're talking about fencing, HVAC, electrical, home construction, roofing, etc., trades in general, there's a severe shortage of qualified, tradespeople, and it's not getting any better. And it's lots of guys talk about this. I absolutely understand, but the problem is, I think when I was going through high school, there was a huge push towards college. If you don't go to college, then you're going to end up with one of these, you're going to have to go work in the trades. And it was always talked about in a negative context, right? With a negative connotation that, if you don't do well in college, you could always go in the trades. And so it put that negative light on trades in general. And we're suffering for it now. You see folks that went on to college and maybe they completed their degree, but now they've got this degree. So now there's no turning back, right? Is now they've always been taught that going into the trades is a negative, that it's a sign that you weren't able to complete college and on and on. So we're all suffering for it, is my point. So any of the trades, I think that you pick, I don't think you can go wrong. I really don't, because as the pool diminishes, as a pool of qualified tradesmen and women shrinks, as the supply goes down, the demand goes up, right? And you see people in the trades right now that are getting paid very well, incredibly well, and it's only going to get better. We're not seeing a massive influx of the younger generation into the trades. It's for better or worse. And I'm not going to get into, this generation does or does not do this or that. But you just don't see the younger generation coming into the trades, any of the trades, regardless. I have a friend that has a plumbing and HVAC company. Well, Roger, but also I've got one here locally it's a family owned business. The guys and gals there do incredibly good work. And he and I are talking about this almost on a weekly basis about how hard it is to find people, qualified, skilled tradesmen and women to come into any of the trades. And, therefore it's leading to the cost of labor keeps increasing to try to keep the team members we have and try to entice new team members to come on to our team, sort of thing. So Rusty, I'd say pick a trade that interests you, right? I think part of the problem too is maybe folks jump into a trade simply because it's monetarily advantageous to be in that trade at that particular time, but they don't really love it, right? They don't wake up in the morning, I don't know about excited to go to work, but motivated to go to work. They don't wake up, ready to see where the day takes them. They wake up and it's, oh man, I got to go to work. Any day you wake up and you grumble about going to work, you're probably not where you're intended to be, right? It's going to seem like work. It's going to seem like a job rather than a career. I would almost say, Rusty, just try a few out or talk to folks in those trades about what they love about them and talk to them about the other side of the conversation too. What don't they like about that particular trade, and find one that you think that you'd really enjoy. Wade says we're leaving Minneapolis Wednesday morning, 13-hour drive. Holy cow. That is an incredible drive. So Wade's obviously from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Very good. I can't wait to see you guys there. Do you have a full-time social media person? So, yeah, we do. So we do and we don't. We've got Jeremy that helps us here on this channel. So he kind of wears a lot of different hats. He helps us with our social media for Ozark Fence as well. Whether it's the Facebook post or the Instagram post, the blog post on the website, that sort of thing. But also we share him here with this channel as well. He helps me do the videography. Thursday lives, I'm able to kind of figure this stuff out myself. So not just completely incapable, I guess. So I can do this by myself. But typically, all the recorded content that you guys see, Jeremy's behind the lens on those and helps me get everything set up just right and helps me come up with ideas. Just to my right off camera, is a whiteboard that's just filled with video ideas that he and I kind of talk about every Tuesday morning. So yeah, so Jeremy helps out with that. But that being said, when we're talking about 5 years ago when we're really starting out with social media, it's something I did. It's something that I enjoy is getting into the social media channels and figuring out what works and what doesn't. So for many years, that was me. That's what I did. In addition to, I was also on the consultation side. So I'd go out to the consultation calls and write up proposals and then do social media either first thing in the morning or last thing in the evening, or sometimes when I got home, I'd spend some time doing the social media. So, while we do, don't feel like, and the reason I say that is don't feel like you have to go out and hire someone immediately for social media, right? I always recommend doing it yourself or having someone on your current team do it and learn it and know it. So if nothing else, at least you have the base foundational knowledge, to know exactly how it works before going and hiring someone. When I talk to guys and gals that run businesses that just they say, you know what, we've been needing to do social media. All I hear is people talk about social media. So I hired this gal or this guy and they're going to be my social media person. Unfortunately, they don't have the foundational knowledge to have, a great conversation initially during the interview process. And there's a lot to social media, and there's a lot of folks out there that are, social media pros and that sort of thing. And I don't know. It's hard to have a really good conversation until you have some at least foundational knowledge of social media. Nice thing about social media is to start out with for the organic, it's free, right? It's for many years, it was me and my phone recording videos just straight to my phone. And then I edited them on my phone or then when I really got tech savvy, I bought a laptop and I would edit them there on my laptop. What are these laptops called? They are MacBooks. I went blank there trying to figure out anyway, I went and bought a MacBook and it's got an editing program on it. So, but anyway, you can start off with a telephone and your smartphone and social media app on your smartphone and start from there. But to answer your original question, Wade, yeah, we do have someone that handles our social media, and it's someone that I work with closely just because it's something that I enjoy. I still view myself, do I own the business? Sure. But within the business, I view myself as more on the marketing side than anything because it's what I enjoy. Rusty says, I wish I would have learned trades before my finance background. I learned about credit repair and credit cards and such. I would have loved to learn about an automotive and plumbing. Rusty, it's never too late though. That's the thing is, just because you went like the financial route and, that you're in trucking right now doesn't mean that you can't start a new career or with a different trade. I always encourage people to, if what you're doing isn't your passion, try to find something that is your passion, right? Try to find something that you wake up every morning feeling motivated to go do what it is you want to do. So, but either one of those, automotive, plumbing, would have been great. They would make good trades as well. All right, Steven says, drive or dig Postmaster post. Again, I'm dealing with the Ozarks Rocky soil. Absolutely. So we dig. We dig right now. We're toying around with testing out driving these Postmaster steel posts. We had it slated for wintertime when things slowed down a little bit, gave us a little bit more breathing room. Hasn't happened yet. Looking at our scheduling, I don't know that we're going to get a slow season this year, but it's kind of it's on the back of our mind. There's a lot of guys in the fencing profession that do drive the Postmaster steel post. I think there's a lot of perks to driving them. One, you can build on it immediately. It's ready to go. Now, you do have to drive them deeper than you would typically dig. So that's a problem we're going to have here in the Ozarks is that, if you hit ledge rock at 8-10 inches, that's obviously not going to do. So you'd still have to either, if it's true ledge rock, mount to it or chip it out and try to go deeper. So we dig and set with concrete, but there are a lot of guys that also drive them. So Yep, I get it. I mean, I've been here for almost my entire life, and rocks are just a thing we deal with, right? What is up, Caleb? Hey, Joe, Staining University flyer is up. Okay, so I'll have to check that out. It's probably in the Facebook group, the Facebook University group, the Staining University. So, Caleb, why don't you or one of your team drop a link to the Facebook group so that folks that are interested in that can go see that. And then when I'm done with this live, I'll go look it up, and I'll probably switch out. Well, I don't know if I'll switch the link out in the description, but I'll probably add it to the description. That way, people that watch this on recording, so after the live, it goes into the recorded folder, I guess you'd say. And yeah, so that people that are watching the recording this live can then click on it and find the flyer. I'm super excited. So, guys, if you're just joining us, let us know you're here by saying hi. Of course, bring your fence questions or business questions. And then, yeah, like I said, Caleb's going to drop in a link to the Staining University. So if you guys are wanting more information for the university on February 25th and 26th, you can get more information there. So it's actually going to be, so it's in the suburbs of Nashville. It's going to be in Lebanon, Tennessee. So it's, I don't know, what would you say, Caleb? It's about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, something like that, outside of Nashville. It's actually where the last one was held. So they've got fairgrounds there that's actually very nice. I've been to some fairgrounds that maybe weren't the nicest. I think Lebanon's got a really nice fairgrounds there. So they've got a nice facility to do some classroom teaching, but also some practical outside teaching as well. Yeah, and the nice thing about it being outside of Nashville too is it's a little less crazy, right? It's a little bit quieter there in Lebanon. It's easier to find a hotel room for sure. So I'm staying in the La Quinta, but there's several other hotel rooms that are just right there off the main interstate to find rooms in. I'm looking forward to it. Caleb says they're also looking for sponsors for the Staining University. So if you're a fencing supplier or stain supplier, get with Caleb to talk about potentially sponsoring the event. There's going to be quite a few people there, and I think last year's I want to say had about 100 contractors there, and it was a 1 day. So this being a 2 day and teaming up with Mr. Fence to talk about fence installation, I think this is going to be huge. All right, so Lebanon is 20 minutes from the Nashville airport, so it's a pretty quick and easy Uber. That's how I did it last time. Was I Ubered to Lebanon? This time I got a rental car just so don't have to wait on an Uber in case it's peak or whatever. But I think that's what I'm thinking. So 30, 45 minutes maybe to like the downtown area, but from the airport, 20 minutes, pretty easy drive. The fairgrounds, that makes sense. The fairgrounds is the biggest and best in the state. It is a very nice fairgrounds. We've got state fairground. We've got a fairgrounds here in Springfield, which is okay, and we've got state fairgrounds in Sedalia, but the fairgrounds in Lebanon, I'll say it, kind of puts them to shame. It's a really nice area. Steven's got some advice for Rusty. Dive in, the water's fine. Retired union construction labor, homeowner, rental owner for over 30 years. Learn lots, and there's always work if you can do multiple trades is great. That's Steven's spot on. That's a great piece of advice. You're never too old to find a new passion, right? Or to find your passion. If your passion isn't in trucking or isn't in finance, then by all means, you absolutely should try to find something that is more aligned with what you love to do with your passion. Martin F. Baby, welcome back. Says, have you ever used the Adjust-A-Gate system? I'm looking for a newbie-friendly gate door that's metal, and I might possibly use these, but want to know if you've any flaws using the system. I haven't. I honestly haven't. I've seen the adjustable gate systems that are for sale at like the home improvement stores. I haven't tried them. I don't have any real world experience with them. I know the supplier that we buy the shark hinges from, which is Forney Fence. They sell an adjustable gate, and that one I have. Again, don't have real world experience, but I've seen the design for it. They sent us a sample of it. I like the idea. We fabricate our own, so it's hard for me to try to go test out an adjustable gate system, knowing that we can custom build one for the opening. But that being said, I like the idea. I like the idea that you can put a steel gate frame in homeowners' hands that they can make specific for their opening. So I would I would research. So Forney Fence, and actually, I believe if you'll find the video where we talk about the gate hardware we use, I put a link in that description to Forney Fence's website. You might reach out to them and check out their adjustable gate frame system also. But honestly, I mean, I think any steel gate frame is going to be better than simply using a wood frame. So if the Forney gate frame, that adjustable gate frame isn't what you're looking for, then the adjustable gate frame that you're looking at will be an upgrade over just a standard, wood frame. Carrier, hope I said that right. Good afternoon, Joe. How are you doing tonight? I'm doing well. I'm doing really well. We're in week, what is this? Week 2.5 of the newest addition to the Fence fam. So we're not quite to restful nights yet. She still likes to get up about every 2 to 3 hours and eat a little something. So not fully rested, which is honestly the reason I'm wearing the glasses today. I usually wear contacts, but this morning contacts just weren't an option. Tried them out, and my eye said, nope, that's not going to happen. We're working on a 450-foot wood fence right now. That is an impressive fence. So 450 feet of fence, guys, is quite a lot. So that's I'd say it's probably a commercial fence or a very large residential yard. Typically, our residential projects are, a couple hundred feet typically for a standard residential yard in our area. So 450 foot would be incredibly sizable. If you guys are just joining us, drop a comment below. Let me know you're here. Let me know where you're from. I always like to hear from the Fence fam out there, where all you guys are from. So far, where are we from, guys? We're from San Francisco, Dallas, Fort Worth. I've got someone here in Missouri. Minneapolis got mentioned. Of course, Caleb's here from Nashville. We have anybody from the East Coast? That'd be good to know. So what was it, 2 weeks ago? If you guys were with us, I think 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we had pretty much the United States covered as far as the four corners. We had some folks from Oregon State. We had California. I forgot to mention Fence King's here with us. He's in Louisiana, so we've got the South covered. Let me know where you guys are from. Rusty's up in Salt Lake City, Utah. Very good, Rusty. Of course, Rusty being a truck driver is probably a little bit of everywhere. But, what was a month ago? If you guys were with us, we had a guy from popped in and chatted with us for a little bit from London, which if you think about the time change difference right now in London, it is pretty late. So that was pretty impressive. Guys, I hope you enjoy these live Q&As. I do these to try to answer any questions you guys have in more of a real time. I read the comments in the videos and I try to respond to those in as timely as a fashion that I can. But a lot of times they're not. When you're typing out an answer, you really can't go in depth as much as we can here on the live Q&A. You guys also help me create new content ideas. So I go back and I watch these, and we write new ideas on the whiteboard for new videos to share with you guys. So it also gives me a chance to interview industry professionals. In the last few weeks, we had Sean King on last week, Mr. Fence, which, talking to Sean, if you guys didn't watch that live, I would highly encourage to go back and watch that. If you're interested in fencing at all, running a fencing business, etc. Sean does an incredible job of breaking down, the business side of fencing. And it's something, the business side, here's the thing, is you see a lot of, in the fencing industry, not a lot, I guess that's not fair, but you often see craftsmen that then work for a fencing company for X amount of years, and then they decide they're going to go out on their own, create their own, for a variety of reasons, create their own hours, make more money, etc. The problem is they're fence craftsmen. They know how to build a fence very well, but they don't have the business side down, right? And that's probably the reason why the average lifespan of a new fence company is 3 to 5 years, just because the craftsmanship is there for the most often. When I see fence companies fail, it's not because of the work. We had one here locally that made a splash late last year because, they did good work. They just didn't run their business the way a business should be run, right? Their pricing probably wasn't where it needed to be, which led to bills getting behind and maybe rent not getting paid. And unfortunately, they went the route of taking deposits and not actually providing the fence work for it. So You see that more often than I'd like to see it. Once is too much, right? But anyway, so the business side is lacking. So Sean and I had a great conversation last week where we talked about the business side of fencing, and I think that went super well. The week before that, talked with Caleb, where we made the announcement that Stainless Steel Experts is sponsoring these live Q&As with you guys. And so we talked about all things fence staining and deck staining. We also actually he made the announcement there, or he made the announcement to my audience about the Staining University coming up in February. So before that, we've had the executive director of the American Fence Association, Tony Thornton. He was on. Yeah, I like bringing you guys other industry professionals, right? And I think that's something that we're going to do more in the future. So I always feel like the second perspective. I always like talking with you guys, but if we bring a second perspective on another set of eyes, another industry professional, it can only benefit you guys. So we'll probably be doing that more in the future, where I'll invite on industry experts in various fields here in the fencing industry, and to talk with you guys and answer your guys' question. Sean, so Caleb's going to be on a monthly basis. We're going to have Caleb on once a month to talk about all things fence staining, because that's probably one of the number one topics of the questions I see come on is about when can I stain a fence? How do I stain it? What should I stain it with? And then after last week's live with Sean, I reached out to him, mainly thanking him for an incredible amount of knowledge he shared with my audience, but also asking if he'd be willing to do it again. And he said, absolutely. So we're going to plan on having Sean on probably quarterly. That way we're not trying to monopolize all of his time. He's a very busy guy, of course. But yeah, so probably find, 2 or 3, 4 more industry professionals out there that you guys could learn from. You guys would like to hear from. So let's do this. Why don't you let me know if there's someone out there in the fencing industry or fencing related industry that you guys would like to hear from that you think would make a great guest on this show. Why don't you let me know? Drop it in the comments below, and we'll see about getting that set up. I want to provide as much value as I can for you guys. Try to help you guys as much as I can. Carriers from Connecticut. All right, so we've got our East Coast covered there. Let's see. The carrier follows up with, Rusty asked, do you have any New Year's resolutions? Here's my thought on New Year's resolutions. Do I have goals? Absolutely. So I've got personal goals. We have goals for my family. Also, we have goals for the fence company. I hesitate to call them New Year's resolutions. And the only reason being, a New Year's resolution typically lasts 6 to 8 weeks, right? It's typically, the most common ones are around, diets or exercise, something like that. Like, I'm really, first of the year, I'm going to get motivated. I'm going to start waking up and I'm going to go, I'm going to run, or I'm going to eat healthy, or I'm going to start this diet. And they last 6 or 8 weeks, right? Because New Year's resolutions just don't seem that permanent. So we have goals. And Ozark Fence, and what we do with Ozark Fence is we actually have 2 sets of goals. So we have a baseline goal, so like a growth goal. And then we've got, what do they call them? BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. Like if we hit these goals, we're going to the moon, right? That we are on a trajectory just to blow this thing out of the water. Some of them are revenue based because revenue is kind of where things start, but revenue isn't the whole picture, right? And so we've got some goals for profitability as a percentage, net profit. Now, when we talk about net profit, that's all the dollars left at the end after we've paid everybody. So there's some confusion out there between gross profit and net profit, right? So gross profit is after you pay for, your materials and labor, how much money is left over there. Net profit encapsulates all the extra things, all the overhead, taxes, etc. So we've made some net profit goals as a percentage of revenue, which I think are a little bit more important. We also set some production goals. We'd like to see, X amount of feet built by the end of the year. And then we kind of break that out. We reverse engineer that back into quarters and months and weeks to give ourselves, a way to gauge if we're on track or behind, that sort of thing. So to answer your question, New Year's resolutions? No, I don't. We have goals. And are those two the same thing? Probably. But in my mind, New Year's resolutions last 6 or 8 weeks, and these are a full year commitment. Carrier asks, "How does your company feel about drilling and pinning for posts?" I see varied arguments about it. Personally, we do it as a last resort. So let's expand. I need clarification on that one. So drilling and pinning for post, um, is so I don't know. Could you be more specific? So my first thought is this is about maybe drilling and setting posts in concrete versus driving, because that conversation is happening a lot in the fencing industry right now. Guys that drill and set with concrete, we do, and then guys that are driving, and so it's going back and forth on that. Let's get a little bit more clarification on the term drilling and pinning. Yeah. Matthew wants to know stainless steel versus galvanized nails. Uh, we use galvanized. We use hot dip, ring shank, galvanized nails. The alternative, we offer an aluminum nail upgrade. The thing with aluminum is it's about 4 times the cost. Well, aluminum stainless for us are roughly the same cost. They're about 4 times the cost of galvanized. Aluminum in our market, aluminum is a little bit easier to come by than stainless. So we offer both. Typically, the customer ends up going with galvanized. Now, with galvanized nails, so Sean and I were talking about this last week. There's different levels of galvanizing, right? And so the thought here is, and I think where we're headed with this is galvanized nails they leave streaks on fence boards. I think that's a component of the galvanizing. It probably doesn't have as much galvanizing as maybe other nails do. Leaves the streaks. We use galvanized. We use hot dip galvanized ring shank nails, and they don't leave streaks on the boards. So we offer aluminum as an upgrade, but rarely do the customers take the upgrade on that. What is up, Ashley Roth? She's the driving force behind Stainless Steel Experts. So Caleb's like the figurehead. Caleb, make sure the ship is headed in the right direction. He's the captain. But I tell you what, Ashley's the one that makes sure everything is in tip-top shape over there. Welcome, Ashley. Are your salesmen digital or still using pen and paper? For the most part, digital. It's more efficient. Also, in the current pandemic climate that we're in, it also makes us a little bit more conscious to being a little bit more conscious about social distancing and that sort of thing. So we're primarily digital. I say primarily. So my dad is still very much pen and paper. He's still very much traditional. And you see that more on he handles the commercial side of Ozark Fence. So he's still very much pen and paper, scan it and email it. We have upgraded to scanning and emailing. So there's concerns. My hesitation on pen and paper is you're still writing it down and then you're passing it to someone else, and then they're going to hold it and they're going to read it and then they're going to put it somewhere, countertop, table. I would be concerned for that being a point of if one of my folks is asymptomatic, but they still do have it, and if they touch something else that had the germs on it. Anyway, digital for me is kind of the way, and it's also more efficient. It's a quicker way to go about it than on pen and paper, and it's a little bit more permanent. So we, as Ozark Fence, are mostly digital, with the exception of my dad, who still likes to do pen and paper, and then we scan and email the proposals. Steven says, Matthew, I've seen aluminum ring shank nails used before because of rust and bleeding. So that's a conversation that goes on a lot in fencing is, galvanized nails getting blamed for, rust streaks, for weeping. I mean, you can call it a lot of different things, bleeding, weeping, that sort of thing. I think it's going to depend on the nail. It's going to depend on the quality of the coating. We use galvanized and they work out fine. But a lot of guys do prefer to use aluminum and stainless. I don't want to downplay that. I mean, by all means, it's a higher grade for sure. Thoughts on Scrail fasteners? Actually, Kenny, I'm not familiar with Scrail at all. So, yeah. What is a Scrail fastener? And we'll talk about it. Ashley would love someone in the landscaping industry on to discuss the best way fencing contractors and landscaping contractors can work together. I like this a lot. Actually, I agree on this. I like this a lot. So we need to find an industry leader in landscaping is what we need to do. And I bet we could probably find some in the contractor fight, a Facebook group, a free Facebook group that both of us are in. If you guys are in a home service based industry, if you're a contractor out there, I think it would behoove you to join the contractor fight. I'm not affiliated with it. I'm just a member. But I think there's a lot of good contractors in there that are sharing a lot of good ideas. So I'll probably do this. I'll probably reach out to Tom first to clear it with him, and then ask the contractor fight group if there's any landscaping contractors out there that'd like to come on. Because I like this train of thought, is seeing how the fencing industry and staining and sealing can best get along with landscapers and landscape contractors. I know fencers, we deal with landscapers a lot, and actually, so landscape companies are probably one of our best referrers, because they're the first people the homeowners typically think about when they're thinking about their yard, is the landscapers. So I think that is a great idea. Rusty says, I'm working 2 jobs right now to save the down payment for a house. I want to change careers, but not take a pay cut yet. I want a house to put 20% down and then be able to afford the mortgage. Rusty, I think you're on the right track there. I don't want this to turn into like a financial type discussion or show, because I'm a fence guy, not a financial guy. I think home ownership is absolutely a good path. It's stability, it's owning an asset, right? Rather than just paying rent on a place, you're actually working towards ownership. I like that a lot, Rusty. Goes on to say, I want to change careers after purchasing a home and the mortgage is available. I agree. I think you're on the right track, Rusty. If we can help you here, if me or any one of the folks here in the chat can help you, I'd love to help you as much as possible. Try to achieve that, because I think that is a great goal. Drilling and painting. Okay, so Carrier was talking about drilling and painting, drilling rebar into the ground and sliding a hollow post over it and filling with concrete. So it's not something that we've done. Maybe, I don't know. That would make me nervous, honestly. Just because I haven't done it, I'm not experienced with it, so I wouldn't want to talk on it too much. Just because I'm not proficient in that way of installing fence. That would make me nervous. What I've heard before, what I've seen guys do is, so when they're drilling a hole, when they're digging a hole with a 6 or 8 inch auger, and they hit rock at say 20 inches, they're supposed to get to 24 to 30. Then they'll drill rebar into that rock and then they'll set concrete around the post. Rebar then attaches it to the surrounding rock. I've heard that done, and I'm probably okay with that. I mean, as long as the rebar is drilled into the rock sufficiently. But I don't know if I would just simply drive the rebar into the ground and then slide a post over it and fill it with concrete. That would probably make me nervous. I would typically only do it with vinyl post. So I don't know that I'm not, like I said, not proficient with it. I haven't tried that, but it would make me really nervous. Just first impressions from a guy who doesn't do that. I've seen guys. So Sean, if he's still with us, so Sean had a video on the Fence Professionals group talking about driving steel posts. So driving like I think they drive 2-inch posts, maybe 2.5. I think they're 2-inch posts. Driving 2-inch posts in the ground and then using brackets to then attach to a vinyl post. I would be more inclined to do that than I would rebar, but I don't want to shoot it down too much either, just because I'm not proficient in that. I haven't tried it before. What is the best drill to use for anything to do with carpentry or fencing? Milwaukee, Craftsman, Makita, I think it's called, Makita, not Makita, but yeah, or DeWalt. All right. So this is going to turn into a Ford versus Chevy versus Ram versus GMC kind of debate, right? We, in our company, we use DeWalt only because we've always ever used DeWalt. We have 100 batteries and the chargers to go with them and that sort of thing. And DeWalt's work out really good for us. They're easy to replace. If a sawzall goes down or a circular saw goes down, we can replace it pretty easily. DeWalt's the way we go. But I know a lot of guys in the trades that use Makita. I don't see a lot of Milwaukee or Craftsman. Usually see DeWalt or Makita. Of course, if you guys that are watching have an opinion, I see some opinions coming in now. Why don't you let me know what you think? I like using DeWalt because they're easy to replace, and because we have. I don't even want to try to think about how many dollars worth of batteries that we have right now in our tool cage. Wade says, do they get an estimate before the salesman leave or email it later? So here's our process. So actually, in response to the pandemic and all that, we actually don't go out to the job site until after we've provided the proposal and the customer has accepted the pricing. And so we use a tool called My Salesman. It's an online quote tool. The process is the customer enters in their address. They go to our website, click on the link, enter their address. It pulls up a satellite image of the home. And then they can draw directly on that image exactly where they want the fence to go. Once they do that, they pick the style of fence, the fencing materials they want used, and it gives them a budgetary price right off the bat. Now, that's based on pricing that we put in the back end. We'll sell on average, it costs X amount of dollars, per foot to build this. Now, Sean and I have had great discussions in the past about when you're actually giving a firm proposal and billing, it's per panel rather than per foot. But in this pricing, it's giving ballpark pricing, right? So I'm comfortable enough using footage per foot for ballpark pricing. So, and you'll say, and these are purely theoretical numbers. This is not me telling you what you should charge for fence, but say a fence, whatever style, costs $50 a foot. There are tools within the My Salesman. There's options to say, I want to, my ballpark price is based on 10% below and 12% above this number. And that's where it gets the ballpark number to give the client. So they see the image, they draw it, they pick their style of fence, and they get a ballpark budgetary estimate. So once they see that number, if that number is in the ballpark where they thought it would be, and if it sounds like something they want to move forward with, then they would enter their contact information and submit it to us. At that point, on the back end, so my sister Sarah, she runs our residential. She's our client experience officer. She then receives that. It comes complete with the map, the footage, what type of material, the ballpark pricing. So she has all the information she needs to then schedule a phone call to where she picks up the phone. And one step we do in between is we verify that the footage based on the local county's online assessors, the GIS, the county assessor's plat map of the property, just to make sure it's not completely out of line. Then we schedule a phone call. We talk about the property, the photo. She'll look at the property and say, well, I see your layout, but there's a shed here. Have we thought about, how you're accessing that shed? I don't see a double drive gate. Are you not bringing big things into the yard, etc. And then as long as the layout looks correct and it jives with the county assessor's website on what they say the footage should be, and then she makes adjustments to that for any gates or maybe they want a different style of fence than they originally picked, she can adjust the pricing either way, and then she can provide them a proposal. I say all that to say, typically we can get a proposal to a customer 1 to 2 days after they call us. Without us being on site. So it's us trying to do our part to reduce the spread, right? It's also us reducing the amount of drive time that we're doing. And we're able to get more proposals out than we were if we're doing on-site proposals for each and every project. Once the client then accepts a proposal, at that point, we schedule the on-site to verify, hey, this is what we think as far as footage goes. There isn't anything crazy in the yard that wasn't there for the satellite image. And really just so the client can then put a face with the name so they can meet Sarah and ask her any questions that they have prior to scheduling. So that's our process. So we actually don't visit the job site until we're ready to talk about scheduling. All right. Key says scrails are screws that are coated like nails. I use a nail gun to install, but has to be removed like a screw. That's interesting. So they used to have, what do they call them? They called them screw bore nails, where the shank of the nail had a screw cut in it, but the head was still a nail. So that's interesting, Kenny. I'll have to look into that. I've never heard of scrails. Uses a nail gun to install, but has to be removed like a screw. That is incredibly interesting. And you have given me a great idea for a future segment. So what we'll have to do is track down some scrails. And so does it use a standard nail gun? I would think it would probably take a specific nail gun for the scrail system. I would almost bet. But track down some nails in a scrail gun and probably do some testing on. So one video that's up on our board that we're talking about shooting here in the near future is redoing a nail versus screw testing or discussion, because that comes up a lot in the fencing community, talking about that. So that'd be interesting. We'll add scrail because that's kind of it sounds like it's the best of both worlds. The problem with the main problem with screws is, and what keeps a lot of fence contractors away from screws, is it really, really slows down your production. But from what you say, you can shoot these things through a nail gun, then that would probably increase production. Yeah, interesting, Kenny. I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. So to answer your question, I don't know. We haven't used scrails before, and in our market, I don't know that I've seen them like at our fastener stores either. So it might be a regional thing, but so where my mind goes, so what I'm chewing through here is, so you can take production back up to where you would be with a nail gun, right? But an easier to remove picket for repairs or replacement. And me being a marketing minded guy, my mind goes to like, that's a great marketing opportunity, right? That's another unique selling proposition for Ozark Fence. Kenny, I'm incredibly thankful that you brought this to my attention. Matthew says, home ownership is great until your fence blows down. That's true. You hear this sentiment a lot that, it's great until the water heater needs replaced, or it's great until your roof leaks, and that's true. You do bear the burden of the upkeep of the home. But home ownership, one guy's opinion, a fence guy at that, not a financial guy. My opinion is home ownership is always a great idea, right? Because it's you owning an asset rather than renting one and letting someone else own it. And it says, jokes aside, I wouldn't have found this channel if that didn't happen. So Matthew's fence blew down, and now I've watched almost all of Joe's videos. Matthew, I appreciate that a lot. I appreciate it for sure. And that's what we're wanting the channel to do, right? We created this channel. I say we, I guess I'm using the royal we for me. I created this channel just to try to be as helpful and provide as much education as I can to try to be, an outlet to try to help folks like you, like Matthew. So Matthew, I tell you what, as someone that's watched almost all my videos, if you or anyone else has, comments or suggestions, ideas for future videos, please let me know. I mean, I'm here to serve you guys, right? I'm here to be a resource, an asset for you guys. And so if there's a piece of content out there that you can't find and you'd like one made, let me know. I'd be glad to look into it for you. Burn it on in here. What is up? It says Makita with an exclamation point, and it's all caps. He wants to be very clear that it is Makita. And this is what I mean, right? This is going to become a Ford versus Chevy versus Ram versus GMC versus Toyota versus. Did they all get it done? Probably, right? But the tools I see out in the field are pretty much either DeWalt or Makita. Ashley says, what does you, the homeowner, want to see and enjoy in their backyard? Who are the industry experts that can help achieve goals? Those are the people who would make great guests here. Yeah, absolutely. So who are the industry experts who can? So Ashley asked a great question, right? And those are the people that we should have on the show. So I like the landscaping. I like the idea of having a landscaping expert on. Who else would probably make so a water feature expert would probably be good. I mean, there's several of those in the contractor fight, which maybe those are lumped in with landscapers, but probably not. Great point. All right, so Matthew's on board with Milwaukee or DeWalt. So Milwaukee is now in the ring, is in the running, I guess you'd say. I have a DeWalt roommate has Milwaukee, can't go wrong either way. And that's the thing, right? If we're having the Ford, Chevy, Ram, etc. now in our conversation, they all work, right? is if you have a brand new Ford, a brand new Chevy, Ram, Toyota, GMC, they're all going to get things from point A to point B, right? And we can have the conversation for payload and powertrain, and they all do the job. And I think that's kind of the point on these power tools. What are your thoughts on the Master Halco's gate post? You use them. I'm trying to figure out how to attach the gate door to the post since it doesn't have holes. Would you recommend drilling into it? So we don't. We don't use the post simply because the hardware we use, the Shark hardware is the name for it. Shark hinge and Shark latch are made for the purpose built for a round post. Now, the Postmaster gate post that Martin's talking about is a square post. So the hardware wouldn't work on that post. I would think, honestly, Martin, I'd have to look into that. I would think you could drill into it. You would have to, right? To attach the gate hardware, you'd have to drill into it. I'd have to look into that. We haven't used it. So when we order posts, we're only ordering the line post. We use a line post for lines and corners. Gate posts are a round Schedule 40 2.5-inch galvanized post. He says, I'll shoot you a link on Scrails. They used to have separate guns, but they have made them more universal. Makes picket replacement adjustment easier to use it for us sanders. Absolutely. So I agree, Kenny. If we're thinking about the ease of replacement and repairs, a screw is hands down a better choice for that. If the ring shank nails we use, they don't come back out on purpose, right? But if you're doing any sort of repair or replacement, you really have to get in there, and you end up breaking the picket, and so the picket's gone, and then you end up risking damaging the pickets around it or the rail it's attached to, trying to get it off as well. Whereas if it were a screw, you could back it off and still be in good shape. So yeah, please do. Please shoot me the link on Scrails. I'm going to add that. When we rewatch this, I want Jeremy to put this on the whiteboard. I'll put it on the whiteboard, but I want he and I to talk about adding it to our nails versus screws discussion, because I think it's a great great in between product. Kind of a marriage of both worlds, right? Mark and Amy Wadsworth, in some of your videos, you've said to build gates on fence, not the ground. Yeah. What does that look like? We're using April's video for our example. So, yeah, I'm a fan of building a gate on the fence. So we have a video where I talk about the gates that we use. We use steel frame gates, posts, and hardware. You could go back and search for that one, because I kind of outline on a gate that we had recently built what that looks like. But back when I was a kid and we were building gates out of wood, we hadn't got onto steel frames yet. So you would have your runners, you would frame it out just like a normal fence, right? So you would run your rails like normal, but then you would add your bracing to it without cutting it apart. It would all be part of the fence. Add your pickets, add your hardware, and then on the back end, you would then go cut it loose. You would make your cuts on the hinge and the latch side. That way you're 100% sure everything lines up, right? Your pickets are aligned, your rails line up. Aesthetically, it's pleasing. Of course, you'd have your bracing in there as well, so that it wouldn't droop, warp, or twist as well, or as easily. But yeah, go out and check out my video. I want to say we did it a couple months ago on it titled something to the effect of, how does a fence professional build a gate? And we use steel frame gates, posts, and hardware. But I'm glad that you found us from April's video. April Wilkerson, if you guys, that was this week's video, was the third of 3 installments on my reaction to her video. April can do fence work. I tell you what, I hadn't found her channel prior to Jeremy bringing it to my attention. So what I asked Jeremy, I said, I want you to go into the YouTube and find a fence video that I can react to positively. Someone that's doing it right, someone that's using good methods, but that's not a professional fencer, right? Kind of, I don't know, in the DIY. I guess you would call hers a DIY. She did it herself, right? Rather than hire a contractor. But anyway, I asked him to go find a video that I could positively review. And he brought me back April's fence series, a 3-part series on her building a fence at her house, actually replacing a fence at her house. And I couldn't be more pleased. I follow her channel now. She does great work. Yeah. So I'm glad that you found us from her video. All right, guys. Well, I think we're caught up on the comments. If you guys have some discussion topics that you'd like to bring up, then by all means, we'll sit here and chat about them for a little bit. Let's do this. I want to show you guys. So several videos ago, we walked through some fencing fencing programs that we use in our business. I'd like to show you guys the quote tool because, guys, I'm telling you what, if you're a fencing contractor, this online quote tool is absolutely a game changer. I'm not affiliated with them. We pay full price for this product. This isn't a sponsored anything, but this it's absolutely unreal. Let me do this. All right, so this is a fence guy figuring out technology, right? Give me just a second. I'm going to start on our website so that you guys can see kind of where it starts and stops and all that. All right, so let me get this. Can we make this bigger? Can we make me small? Let's try to make me small. There we go. Fix the background here. So we've still got the background from the Stainless Steel Experts sponsoring the live, which they do, and I appreciate them. Caleb and Ashley, appreciate your guys' support. While I'm doing this, if you guys want more information on the Stainless Steel Experts product line, I've got a link for their website in the comments or in the description below, not the comments, rather. All right, let's see. All right, here we go. So we start off on our website. We've got a button here that says free online estimate that you would go click. And we kind of talk about, that it's accurate, that it's basically like a landing page, right? Where we're kind of talking about the tool, talking about what it can do for the customer. And then once they click that, they go to a website that's created for our company by the My Salesman company. This is our partner code, etc. And so they have to enter in. Now, there's 2 ways of setting this up, right? You can set this up to where the customer has to enter in all their information up front, or you can set it up like this where they enter their address. I prefer this way. The reason being, the customer is a little bit more comfortable with the process, right? And at the end, after the customer has seen the pricing, the footage, the material, and all that, then they enter in their contact information for us to contact them. So they know full well that we're going to be reaching out shortly to talk about their fencing project. But for right now, let's pull up Ozark Fence. And I've done this demo before. So that, on the address auto-populates. So this is Ozark Fence. And actually, for reference, these are the buildings over here that we just bought. So we're currently making them usable for us. So let's say this. Let's say, and this is actually something we're doing, is this fence along the back line here just really needs replaced. It's in pretty rough shape. Luckily, we know a fence company, but if we didn't, this is what we'd do. So we'd say, so I clicked on Start Your Fencing Project. They simply click exactly where they want that fence to go. I want it to go over here. And so I can visually see that this is the exact layout I want. Now, and I could select, some fence over here or up front. I could put additional fencing anywhere I want. But for right now, I know I need 165 feet. So I'm going to say, that looks good, but I want to add a gate. We're not actually adding a gate, but if we did, I want a double gate right here in the back so that it'll let us, access this for whatever reason. All right. So we go next. And now it's going to ask, what kind of fence do you want? Now, and the customer can then go and pick any one of these, and it starts narrowing the options down. So say, I know I want a 6-foot fence. And I know I want it to be, let's say chain link with 3 strands of barbed wire. So now it's either going to give us chain link or chain link with removal. So we know there's fencing there and it needs removed. So we know it's chain link with removal, chain link with 3 strands of barbed wire. It's galvanized. It's not color coded, vinyl coated, and it's 6 foot tall. We're going to go next. And now it gives me a ballpark price on roughly what this is going to cost me, the customer. So it's going to say to remove that, you're anywhere from $6,400 to $7,400. And then the customer, so if they accept that, if they say, well, that's roughly what I think it was going to cost, I had budgeted $7,000 for this, you would click next. And then they enter in their information. So all their contact information, the best time for us to call them so that we can be, as respectful of their time as possible, and then make sure that the address that they entered is correct. And then they would click next, which then sends them a completion email, basically bundles all this up and sends it to them in their email so they have a copy of their budgetary pricing for the fencing project, but also it bundles that up and sends it to us as well. So, yeah, and then we know exactly what this customer is looking for. On our end, then we see, we'll go back to this. We're sent this satellite image. So it's going to show us the property. It's going to show us the layout of exactly where that fence goes, that they need about 165 foot and a double gate. They also need some removal. And this is the budgetary price that they were shown, and they're good with it. So, yeah, it's an incredible tool. I can't say enough good things about it. Like I said, we're not sponsored by them. I pay full price for the program. But it is, if you're a fencing contractor, you would do well to look into this for sure. All right. Well, that didn't work, did it, guys? Because it just showed you. Okay. So we're all learning here, right? All right. Let me figure this out. So we need to share. We need to share the screen. I see what happened here. So I shared that application window, but when you click the link, it sends you to a different window. So let's try this again. Like I said, I'm a fence guy, not a technology guy. So let's open a new window, and then I will share that window with you guys now. No, wrong window. Not a big technology show, guys. All right, let's make sure. Let me look. Yep. Okay. So once you click on I'll start this over. So once you click on our get a quote or a free online quote, it brings you up to the satellite image. You would then enter the address. So it pulls up a satellite image of the property. So quite literally, they're going to look at their house. So I'm looking at this property. I'm going to draw exactly where I want that fence to go. And this is one of the most powerful parts of the tool, I think, because this lets the customer really visualize, yep, that looks exactly like the fence I need. That's, it's around the back. It's along the fence line. This is exactly what I need. And so in that example, I went on to say, whoop. And so you can also adjust it. So I didn't add the gate this time. So let's go back. And let's add a gate in that. And we're going to add a double gate in that. And then we're going to say it is 6 foot tall, galvanized. And you could do this either way, and it'll shrink down. So let me do this. Let me do it from the opposite. So I know I want commercial chain link with removal. So it's going to take out all the options that don't pertain to commercial chain link with removal. Or chain link with removal. And then we're going to say it's chain link with 3 strands of barbed wire, galvanized, and it's 6 foot tall. Those are the options that are available because we're not going to build a 4 foot tall fence with barbed wire, right? So it's not even going to give that as an option. So then it gives us this price, $6,400 to $7,400, and then or $7,410. They would click next, and this is where they would enter in all their information, and then verify the address information, all that. And then it's going to package this screen up, and it's going to send it to us. That way we can see the footage, the pricing, we can see the layout so that, when we're talking with the customer, because the next step would be us scheduling a phone consultation. So I'd pick up the phone and give them a call and say, I'm looking at the overhead view, and, honestly, this looks pretty straightforward. It looks like you're going from one of your mid buildings there back to your back line. and then across to where it looks like there's a cross fence there. Is that what you're seeing? And then it looks like we're installing a chain link fence with 3 strands of barbed wire, but we're also removing that old fence. Is that right? Yep. Okay. Well, now that I have that information, I have the footage, which the footage is incredibly accurate. So we took all of our 2019 installation data. We did this in last year in 2020. We took all of our 2019 installation data and compared it to the online quote tools that we had available for projects that use this. And it was accurate 90% of the time. The 10% were, so once we got on site, we realized, all right, so there's a retaining basin here that the customer didn't tell us about, or it's usually there's something oddball about the project, right? It's rarely ever the footage. If I went to our lot and measured this right now, it's going to be plus or minus a couple of feet of 165. It's incredibly accurate, which is wild to think about, right? That a satellite flying through space could take a picture of a property and be able to measure it within within the accuracy of a couple feet. It is absolutely wild. But yeah, so this is a tool we use. Like I said, not sponsored by them or anything, but I think it is incredibly, incredibly useful. All right, so let's see here. All right, so let me get back to me talking here. Matt Warner with My Salesman will be the keynote speaker at Standing Steel University next month. Absolutely, that's incredible. So I've never actually met Matt in person. So I've met Rachel with My Salesman. She came through on her way to the Midwest chapter of the American Fence Association, and she stopped. It was in Branson, so Springfield is a on the way stop. So she stopped by to check out her new location, and so I got to meet her in person. But I haven't actually met Matt, so I look forward to meeting Matt and hearing what he has to say. Now he wants to know, if you stain a fence one color, are you able to change it down the road, or am I stuck with the stain outside of painting it? I'll be using an oil-based stain based on your recommendation. I like that it's oil-based. So here's the thing. You can generally go darker. It's harder to go lighter. And I say harder. I mean, you can use a stripper and strip off as much as the old as you can. And usually that's pretty effective. Now, it's a lot of work. It's using the correct, stripping chemicals and compounds, making sure you get that exactly right. And it'll get a lot of it off. Since it's oil-based, oil is going to soak into the wood. So you're not going to be able to strip all of it off, but you could probably make it a little bit lighter. But my recommendation, so we come across this occasionally. You can always go darker. It's incredibly harder to go lighter, and it's not 100%, right? So if you had a lighter color like a cedar tone, or maybe like a chestnut, which are two of Standing Steel Experts colors, you could then clean it, wash it, and all that, and then you could then use a darker color, like a walnut. Now, you couldn't do it right away. You'd want to let that product set up. So if you used a stain today, you weren't happy with it, you couldn't go tomorrow and then try to restain over it. The sealant would set and it would do its job and it'd repel the stain you're trying to put on it. But if it's an established stain, if it's been there a while, if it's an older fence, you could generally go to something darker. Like Standing Steel Experts has a really nice dark color walnut that I like a lot. Walnut does a great job of covering just about everything. They also have a chocolate that's a dark brown. It's just a thicker, darker color. You could probably go with something darker like that. All right. What is up, Cannon? So Cannon from Jackson Fence in Western Tennessee is with us. And Cannon, you're with us just about every week, and I appreciate that a lot. Thank you very much. We did have some technical difficulties. The screen froze, and see, this was the problem. The screencast was using the incorrect screen. So I had it was on the website. When you click the link, it takes you to My Salesman's webpage they developed for you. So, yeah. But I hope when we redid that it worked correctly for you guys. If not, we can figure that out. We can figure that out later. Yeah. So, guys, if you have any fence questions, let me know. Bring them up in the comments below. I'd love to be able to help you guys as much as possible. Let's look at our discussion board and see if there's some discussion topics on here. Of course, if you guys are just joining us, let us know by saying hi in the comments below. Let us know where you're from. So we've got a pretty good group of folks here. We've got West Coast covered. We have San Francisco Bay Area. We've also had the Dallas Fort Worth. Kenny's holding down Dallas Fort Worth area. If I get my mouth working correctly, that we'd be going somewhere. We've also had Mr. Fence here from Indiana. We've got the Ross here from Nashville, of course. Then we've got carriers from, where does the carrier say? Connecticut, I believe, East Coast. And then, got everyone a little bit of everywhere. Of course, Cannon's holding it down in Tennessee as well, Western Tennessee. Divine says they're Divine Fence in Massachusetts. What is up, Joe? Hope you're having a good year so far. I am. I mean, we're only, what is today? We're only about 14 days into this month. We're about halfway through the month, or 14 days into the year as a whole. But yeah, we're having a pretty good year. My little one is doing well. I'm still on somewhat of the overnight schedule, so my days are a little bit messed up right now. Afternoons, of course, are a little bit better than mornings. But yeah, everything's doing super well. Hope you guys are doing well. Wade's here. My father's son fence company in Minnesota. So Wade was with us last week, and I remember Sean and I had this conversation. I like this name a lot. My father's son fence company. Wade, I think you did a really great job naming that. Matthew's got a video idea. Rate my fence. Users send in photos or a video of their DIY fence. I like this a lot. So I follow Roger Wakefield. They actually do it on Reddit. I'm a fence guy. I'm not a tech guy. We've already learned this today. I don't have a subreddit set up, but we could do it through email. We're setting up an email for this show. Or we could do it on the Facebook group. So Facebook, I've got a Facebook page. I'll type it in the comments below. It is facebook.com/the real Joe Everest. So on the Facebook page, it's just a place where you guys can submit photos and videos similar to what you're talking about. On the YouTube community, I can create a post and then you guys can reply to it. But you can't, as far as I know, you can't add the photos and videos to it. So we created a Facebook page so that then you guys could upload content there. What I think we ought to do, though, is I'll have to get with Jeremy and create an email specific for this idea. But I like this, a Rate My Fence video series where maybe, I don't know, once a quarter or something, we get all these pictures and videos together and we just talk about the fence. All right. Wade says, got to thank the wife for the name. I like that name a lot. My father's son. So this is the Facebook page that we've created for this channel, facebook.com/the real Joe Everest. Because if you just type in Joe Everest, it probably takes you to my personal page. The thing about that is, so we should probably talk about this. My personal page is where my family and friends kind of resides, where the pictures of my family live, and I reach out to other family and friends through that. That's for my personal life, right? It's not. My wife and I had this discussion where, it's fine to talk about the kids and they can come on from time to time, but there needs to be a separation between our personal life and this channel. Joe Everest, the person, and Joe Everest, the channel. So I kind of made that decision to then start the public page, the real Joe Everest on Facebook for this channel, so that you guys can follow the channel and join along, and we can have discussions there in between the weekly lives and the weekly recorded videos we put up on Wednesdays. So I don't accept friend requests from folks that aren't involved in my personal life, right, on my personal page. So if you guys are wanting to join up on the public page, which is the real Joe Everest, and we'll get along there. All right, so some topics we have up here. So I'm trying to think. A lot of these need B-roll, right? So one is just following a crew around, making a fence and kind of voicing over as they're doing it, what they're doing. So talking about, like the post layout, right? How we determine how to lay out the post. which is a video that we're going to do in the future, obviously, because it's on the board. But we're using, so Mr. Fence Tools, Sean makes and sells fence tools that he uses in his business. I went and paid full price for some of the tools there, and I'm going to do some, I don't know, not really reviews, because I mean they're products that he uses in his business. They don't really need reviewed, I guess, but show how you could apply them to your business. One of them is a tool that helps you correctly proportionally space your posts. So you would set a spike, a ground spike of your first post, stretch it out and set it your last post, and now you mark each post proportionally. It's similar to think bungee cord, think like a commercial industrial bungee cord with tabs, so that as you stretch this thing out, each tab stretches accordingly. But as you shrink it, each one shrinks accordingly. So each post is set proportional to the next without having to do a significant amount of math. So if it's 132 and a half feet and you want to set those proportionally, it does all the thinking for you. You don't have to break out the calculator. I break out the calculator to figure out how many posts that we can set proportionally and all that. It does it for you instinctively. So we're going to do a video on that. One thing we're going to do too. So I'm excited. I believe it's coming out next week. So we did a follow-up video to the post foam. The post foam video it's actually one of the best performing videos on this channel. Is when I tried out the Sika Pro Select expanding post foam. It didn't have the best results with it. So we got a lot of feedback from the video, to say the least. And there were some critical thinking folks out there that maybe thought that we rigged it, or we didn't do it properly, or we didn't use the right material and anything like that. So what we did is we set 6 posts. We set 2 in concrete. We set 2 with the Sika Pro Select, and then we used 2 with a third product. And I'll let you guys kind of see that product when we roll it out. But we did a follow-up video with the foam. And the reason we use 6 is to get increase the sample size so that we're not looking at 1 or 2 posts. Now we're looking at 6 posts. We use 2 in concrete so that we have a common, we have a standard set post that we can compare to. Well, what's up on our board now is we're going to actually use those posts to show the difference between building with the grade, so building a sloped fence versus building a stair step fence when we're approaching either a rising or falling grade. So that's on the menu for the future. And when we're following the terrain, we're building a sloped fence. Mr. Fence Tools has another tool on there for, I believe it's called the straightaway. Sean, if you're still with us, let me know what I believe it's called, the straightaway, but correct me if I'm wrong, please. But it's a great tool that helps you properly set the height of your fence pickets without using a string line. String line is a tool that we had used quite a lot in the past. We still use it for different parts of the fence building process, but when you're using it for setting your fence picket height, you can get really off very quickly, depending on is the wind blowing or is it not tight enough, etc. You can really get some wonky looking results using a string line. So this actually helps you get your fence pickets exactly straight the first time. So we're going to do a video showing that. We're going to do one thing we're going to do when we start building out the YouTube studio. I'm going to do a video, probably a 2 or 3 video series, I would bet, on the process of building out a YouTube studio. Give you guys kind of a behind the scenes look of what's it like. What does it look like in the studio, right? What does it look like when you're putting this thing together? Because you guys see me sitting at a desk and you can see the laptop and you can see the audio mixer and you can see the background I have here behind me. What you can't see is all the rest of what's going on here, right? We've got 2 lights right here that are doing a great job of filling the room with light and making it look somewhat natural, somewhat like daylight. We've got soundboard around. We've actually got a light right off frame here that is providing backlight, because you turn this light off. Well, now all of a sudden the background looks pretty dark. So we kick that thing on. Try to keep the video quality going here for you guys. Trying to look somewhat professional when we're doing this. So give you guys kind of a behind the scenes tour of what our YouTube studio looks like. Though if we did a behind the scenes tour here, it'd be a pretty quick tour because it's a 10 by 12. It's a office suite is what we rent. here off-site to Ozark Fence. It's a separate site. It's like a shared office situation. But with the new studio, actually, so in the property, an interesting story about the property. So it was a house and it was a barn back in the 50s. And over the years, the barn got connected to the house via a hallway, and there's like a conference room and a kitchen, that sort of thing. And then they got the front office. Well, in this barn, they built the hayloft of this barn. They built a caretaker's quarters. Might also be known as an apartment, but very clear distinction that this is a commercially zoned property. And in Springfield, at least, Springfield, Missouri, at least, commercially zoned properties cannot have apartments in them, but they can have a caretaker's quarters. So this is not an apartment. It's a caretaker's quarters. That looks like what you'd think an apartment would look like. Yeah. So what does the process look like from taking this from a bedroom to a YouTube studio? So bring you guys kind of behind the scenes, let you guys in on like the equipment we use. So I would think one video would be kind of an equipment review or kind of what we use. And I always include links to the equipment I use down in the description because it's a question I get all the time about whether it's what camera do we use or the lens that's on the camera. What lights do we use? What is this? What microphone do we use? Of course, Shure does a great job of letting you know exactly what microphone it is. And anyone that looks for Shure microphones knows that this is a SM7B. I mean, if you Googled it, if you Googled Shure microphones, this is the one you'd find. But anyway, do a behind the scenes look on what we're using. So good question. Can you zoom out? We can't. So we use a fixed lens, a 1.7 fixed lens, just because it gives a really nice shot. So here's the thing is, for my limited knowledge on photography and videography, the fixed lens gives a little bit better image quality, and it gives a little bit more bokeh. So bokeh just meaning that right now I'm in focus, but behind me is starting to get a little bit out of focus. And it just gives a better picture quality rather than a zoom lens. See if we've got... So like this is going to be a Sony, which lens is this? 410 to 18. So this lens will zoom in and out, right? So on this one, it is a wide angle. So it's a 4 to 8. It's a 4 by 10 by 18. So it's a wide angle lens, but it'll still zoom. What we found is, well, after doing quite a bit of research on the subject, we found that a static lens. So this is a camera that we use like on site, something like that. It's a Sony A6600. It's in the link in the description below. It's got, now this lens, looks like a little bit bigger lens. It's a 16 millimeter 1.4, but it's a fixed lens. It's not a variable focus. It's a fixed lens, or a variable. It's not a zoom lens. It's a fixed lens. So really, all we're controlling here is focus. It will not zoom in and out. But it's a nice wide angle lens. It gives a really nice look, but it doesn't zoom. So because we found that zoom lenses don't give you the best picture. A fixed lens gives you a really nice picture. So that's a really long answer to I can't zoom out. But that's why we're going to do the videos where I give you guys a tour through the studio. Keep all this together so Jeremy doesn't kill me and wonder where all of our equipment is. Also, if we're talking about cameras for doing videos, what camera is this? This is a Sony RX100. So it's just a little, I guess it would be considered a point and shoot camera. I like this little camera a lot. So if we're talking about entry level cameras, the Sony, the A line, the 6600, that can be a little spendy, especially when you start buying separate lenses. The benefit being, though, you can buy separate lenses to achieve different shots. If we're talking about just a point and shoot handheld camera, RX100 actually, and it's not in the links below just because we don't use it a lot anymore. But this is my go-to like travel camera. If I'm, if we're going on family vacation and I don't want to lug, this big thing around, like who wants that all the time. You got to carry a backpack just for all the equipment. Yeah, this little RX100. I like to keep it in my pocket. It's a nice little fence. It's a nice little fence. It's a nice little camera. It zooms in and out. It's got a really nice picture quality. But even even zoomed all the way in, it's really not that big of a camera. So, and it would be a good starter camera. If you guys are out there and if you want something, better than your cell phone, which anymore cell phones can record in 4K. So it's about the picture quality from this is going to be pretty similar to the picture quality from this. But if you want something better, an upgrade from a phone, but not all the way to like a mirrorless type camera, this RX100 would probably be a good selection for you. This camera I like a lot. That's why it's sitting just right over there. Okay, yeah. So referring to show what's going on behind the scenes, sort of. Yeah. So this, I don't know if we talked about the live show or not, or we talked to this on the live show. It's a discussion I've had with several people coming up. Let me do this. So, Matthew, thank you. So Matthew is one of our first super stickers. Super sticker for $10. Matthew, thank you. I appreciate this a lot, and so we'll make a deal. Anytime I see a super sticker, I'm going to stop what I'm doing. I'm going to thank you because this means a lot to me and my family. Like this is so, guys. We talked about if you guys watched the live video, what was it? Several videos ago, we kind of went into a behind the scenes look on the YouTube channel, and we talked about the monetization and things like that. YouTube creators don't get a significant amount of money from the ads that you guys watch. Not nearly as much as you think, because it's not nearly as much as I thought it would be. In our case, now we've been doing this for, a year and a half. And as of this month, we're finally to the point where it's almost breaking even on a monthly basis. When we consider, how much editing cost and how much just the production cost. Now that doesn't account for any of the equipment, which can get expensive. So anyway, I just want to say, Matthew, thank you. This means a lot because this money doesn't pass through the super sticker money doesn't pass through YouTube. It comes directly to the account. Whereas a lot of the ads you guys watch, the majority of that goes to YouTube and a little bit of it goes to the creator. So thank you, Matthew. This idea, the what's going on behind the scenes, what I'm thinking. So usually, when you guys start watching the channel or when you guys click on, if you guys are here in the very beginning, you see a screen that looks something like this, right? It's the countdown. It's a 5-minute countdown. So that's being played while I'm behind the scenes, like getting everything dialed in, because you can only do so much work before your channel goes live. And then once you hit live, it gives you more options for how to dial it in and how to share it out. So honestly, that's the majority of what I'm doing is once it goes live, I'm sharing it out to, the Facebook groups, the fence professional Facebook groups out there. Staying Still University, I share it with you guys. And of course, and Contractor Fight, if any of you guys are here from the fight, I'd love to hear from you guys. But anyway, so what we're thinking about doing, though, is using this camera, have it be off scene, high up, but have it be that zoomed out look, what you're talking about, to give more of a behind the scenes look each and every week. Instead of the static countdown timer, have it just be like a really wide angle shot of me sharing stuff out, kind of a behind the scenes look. The idea I'm going for is like on a newsroom, right? So before and after a newscast, you'll see kind of a wide angle behind the scenes look of the reporters. So that's what we're going for. So Mikito, is it Mikito? That's actually a great idea. And it's something that we're kind of on track when we're building the new studio. We're going to try to incorporate that wider shot. So here in this room, like I said, it's a 10 by 12. So it doesn't matter how wide angle of a lens you have. The tour will take about 30 seconds because literally, I can reach out either side and I'm almost touching it. We have a table on either side here holding equipment, and I literally almost touch each table, just stretching out. So a little bit smaller of a room here. What brand of cordless tools do you usually stick with for your crews? We use Hilti. So, uh, actually, so it's funny. So this conversation came up in the beginning of the broadcast, and it's funny that you see things like this. So after several of these lives, you start seeing it kind of comes in waves, right? The same topics come up a couple different times, so it's kind of fun to see. Uh, for me, for my company, we use DeWalt tools only because we have like half 100 batteries, all the chargers that go with it, that sort of thing. Um, Makita came up. What else? Hilti that's the first time I've seen Hilti. Um, I'd be interested to hear your experience with Hilti. I mean, obviously, if your company uses it, you like it. DeWalt, I like using DeWalt just because they're easy to find and replace. If for whatever reason a tool goes down, usually we have replacements on hand, but if we don't, we can easily go find one at any one of the local home improvement stores, even if, typically our service area is, about 30-mile radius of Springfield. So we don't really travel over the road that much, but occasionally we do. And if we're traveling over the road, I mean, any home improvement store, you're pretty much going to be able to find a DeWalt tool that matches the batteries you have on the truck and the chart that goes to the charger you have on the truck. It's a little bit, it just makes it easier, right, to replace tools, and their quality. We don't, the batteries we typically replace, I don't know, every year and a half, 2 years, maybe. More if they get wet. We prefer they stay in the truck in the event of a rainstorm. But occasionally they get stuck out in the rain. So, but if everything goes right, typically 1.5 to 2 year replacement on the batteries, which is about right, because if we're talking about like how quickly the technology evolves, the batteries are typically outdated in 2 years anyway. And that's kind of regardless of platform, I feel like, because there's always an improvement on battery technology. This battery holds 20 times more, than the last battery did, or charges faster, etc. Yeah. So we like using DeWalt. I'd be interested to hear on why you like Hilti. So, I mean, I'm always willing to talk about, upgrades and other solutions out there. When we were talking about the equipment, the point I was making was it's a lot like a Ford, Chevy, Ram, GMC, Toyota discussion. I mean, they're all pieces of equipment that accomplish roughly the same task. If we're talking about a cordless drill, a Hilti and a DeWalt and a Makita and etc., they all work roughly the same. They're gonna drill the same hole. Now we could talk about quality. Some guys are very adamant that the quality of the tool is different depending on which brand you go with. But if we're talking about tools that we use in my business and that I keep on my truck, I like carrying DeWalt. Now, if we could talk DeWalt into going with orange, I would be a very big fan of that, because that's the one thing is they're yellow and black. Now, orange tools, I mean, there's already orange though, so they're obviously not going to. Orange is going to be what? Orange and black is Black & Decker, I think. So I don't know about that. You don't see a lot of Black & Decker tools out on commercial job sites. So I think that probably tells you what you need to know about the build quality there. But yeah, me and my business and on the truck I drive every day, it's DeWalt tools. All right, so let's talk about other concepts we're gonna shoot videos on. Let's see. Talk about cleaning and staining. So we'll probably do that in the spring. What I'd like to do is take a really gray fence, just a dirty fence out there, and clean it first, because the reason we're talking about this, one, it would be great to talk about because Stain and Steel Experts is a sponsor of my live broadcast. To talk about Stain and Steel Experts product, because before they were a sponsor, I've used their product for quite a long time. It's a product I like, and the reason that Caleb and I even had the conversation about sponsorship is because I really like their product. So I'd like to share that product with other contractors because it's made an incredible difference to my business, and it can make an incredible difference to their business. I'd like to shoot a video showing the cleaning and kind of the satisfying type video, because those videos seem to be doing well right now out there in the YouTube worlds, and then go ahead and stain it and kind of probably stain it 2 or 3 colors and show a difference between, like a cedar and a chestnut and a walnut, that sort of thing. Then we're going to talk about, so a video we did this week, we recorded it on Tuesday. So by the time it gets edited and then goes into the queue for upload into YouTube, I think it's probably 2 or 3 weeks out, is the different programs that we use in my business. And it's not a sponsored video. It's all these applications we pay full price for. But one of those is the CRM we use is Job Nimbus. We've used several over the course of the years, but we always seem to come back to Job Nimbus. I don't want to mention the ones that we've gone to and come from just because they're good applications. I mean, that's why we tried them, is because they have good feedback, but they weren't really tailored to fencing. Now, Job Nimbus really isn't tailored to fencing either, but it's tailored. It came from the roofing industry, which there's a lot of correlation there, right? It's a home service, it's a home improvement based industry, so there's some spillover there for sure. But it's about as close as it comes, because we do our proposals from Job Nimbus. And in the proposals, actually, I think we did this on one of the live videos, is we kind of did a walkthrough of the Job Nimbus program, how we use it. But we do our proposals there, and the proposals are based on a per project basis, just meaning we enter in how many posts we're going to need, 2x4s, pickets, how many nails, screws, how many bags of concrete, etc. And so that price is based specifically for that project. So it's a very exact price. And then what we can do from there is then pull that, once a customer accepts it, pull that estimate and then create an invoice. So the invoice is an exact duplicate of the proposal. And then we can also create a work order. The work order comes complete with every single piece of material that we bid on the job, so that they know exactly how many posts they need, rails, pickets, nails, and screws, bags of concrete, etc. they're going to need for this project. How many gate posts, how many fittings, how many, what size gates were bid. So when we're saying it's a 5-foot gate, if it's a 6-foot tall privacy and it's a 5-foot gate, inside that work order, it's going to say if it's a single gate, you're going to need one 6x5 gate frame, or if it's double gate, you're going to need two 6x5 gate frames. You're going to need anything and everything they'll need. They have all on their work order. It makes picking projects or picking the materials for projects incredibly easy. And it makes it to a point where now what we're planning on in the future is pre-staging these material orders, because then we can take this work order and hand it to the guys in our yard and say, hey, tomorrow this crew is going to set this project. I need you to pre-pick all the materials and pre-stage them, in the pre-stage area, tag it with the project name on it. So when that crew shows up in the morning, those materials are ready to go. Now, they'll count and verify it's all there, but we're making this more efficient, is the idea, is by pre-picking the materials, we're going to, one, they're already going to be ready to load, but two, now we're going to have two people verify that the correct materials are going to that job. You're going to have two sets of eyeballs that have counted each and every tension band, each and every brace band, rail end, everything. So that kind of takes a little bit of the human error out of it as well, so that we know all the correct materials are getting to the job site. So Job Nimbus does that for us. It also invoices the project. They can also pay through the invoice. So when we send the invoice, it has an online payment link. Now, here's the thing that with Job Nimbus, it's a little bit different, is so the payment portal with Job Nimbus actually charges the convenience fee to the customer. And we're pretty transparent with that when we send out the invoice email for like the deposit or the final invoice when the project's complete, we say, you'll also find a payment link on this invoice. Just know that the payment processor does charge a fee to process this transaction. To avoid the fee, you can always bring a check in. You can mail a check, get us a check somehow. We also accept cash, cashier's checks, etc. But you can bring a payment by and we'll accept it. But if you use a card, they do charge the 2.75% for processing the transaction. So it's a way to, on our end, it kind of makes it nice because it takes that processing fee, also takes it off our books, right? It takes it off of our profit and loss, which will probably be a good thing. And it presents an attractive option. It leaves an option out there. It still presents the option. There are still folks that we have folks that pay with credit card all the time because they want to accrue points or miles, etc. They're okay with paying the fee. but it also incentivizes using, a separate form of payment to where we don't incur a fee for handling the payment. Yeah. So we're probably going to do a video though, all about Job Nimbus, all about how it works and why we like it and that sort of thing. So what other video ideas do we have? We've got, we did the one on the gate video, so we need to erase some of these. We did the how to not get ripped off by a contractor, homeowner edition. That was one. So that was kind of in response to a contractor we had in our area. We talked about it a little bit earlier that took quite a few deposits and didn't go out to complete the work. And they ended up in quite a bit of hot water. And unfortunately, they left a lot of people in a really sticky financial situation because, that it's, I couldn't write a check for, some of these checks were $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 deposits, and then not receive a good for it. Right. I mean, that would put me in a financial predicament. It put a bit of a strain on the family. And so I can understand where a lot of these people came from. So we did a video on, how to avoid getting ripped off. Now it's never 100%, but there's some due diligence you can do to put yourself in a better position. We also did a how to not get ripped off by your customers, because you see that come up occasionally. We see it in the Facebook fence professionals groups where, you have contractors saying, "Hey, I did the work and now my customer won't pay me. Help. What do I do?" Which usually the first thing that gets asked is, well, what does your contract say you'll do? You need to have a detailed contract and a detailed proposal that has a complete scope of work so that you can say, no, I did this, this, and this. And we charge, we did 1, 2, 3, and we charged X, Y, Z that, directly correlates to those 3 tasks. And therefore we're owed our money. And then how can you enforce that? Right. And so we talked a little bit about mechanics liens in there. Now that's going to vary state to state. Same thing with deposits is, in a lot of these videos, not a lot of the videos, but some of the videos where we talk about deposits, it usually comes up to, usually it's guys and gals out in California where I think it's, if you guys are here from California, you'll be more up to date on this than I am, but I think it's 10%. It's something like 10% or $1,000, whichever is less or something to that effect. Is the maximum amount of deposit. Now, Dan and Dylan, Fence King and the Fence Prince down in Louisiana, they do things a little bit differently. It's more of a retainer fee than it is a deposit. So one way to try to circumvent that a little bit. But yeah, so we did a video all about just basically, if you're a homeowner, how do you prevent yourself from getting ripped off? And if you're a contractor, the same, how do you prevent yourself from getting ripped off? Neither one of them are foolproof or 100%, but sets you up for success a little bit there. And then we're going to do one that's still on the board here is material selection for chain link, wood, and iron. How to select the materials, and that's more of like a DIY style video. Also, I want to do more of an in-depth video because there's on the DIY and homeowner side, there's some confusion typically on what all materials go into building a chain link fence. Because as you guys know, as the fence contractors out there know, there are quite a few different types of fittings that go into building a chain link fence. And it usually revolves around what's the difference between a tension band and a brace band, and why do I need all these different fittings just to put the fence together? And so we're going to do a video kind of outlining that, which will also be good for the new hires. Say in our office, right? Is if they're answering questions from a customer that's wanting to buy some fencing materials from us, how can they best help that customer? So it's a video to help them as well. Because, the fence contractors out there, no one ever comes in asking for a tension band or a brace band. They're asking for that one thing that holds the fence on. It goes to the piece of the metal that holds the mesh on, if they're talking about tension band, or they come up with lots of different ways to describe these fencing fittings. So I went to a video talking about chain link fence fittings and what they are and all that. So we've got, and we're also going to have some more guests on recorded video. I'd like to bring on a lawyer to talk about some basic, 30,000 foot view legal items, because one question that gets asked a lot in these groups, in the Facebook groups, is, should I be an LLC or a corporation, or all these legal type questions, and the best answer always is find a business lawyer in your area to partner with or to bring onto your team, hire them to, explain your situation and what you're wanting to do, and they'll likely advise you the best organizational structure to file for your business, and they'll usually help you do that. And they can also help you, file your name with the Secretary of State to make sure the name you're choosing doesn't infringe on the name someone else is using. Anyway, so bring a lawyer on to talk about kind of like the first few steps in forming a business, with the understanding that it's specific to our area and each area is a little bit different. But yeah. And then let's see. So we got Matthew here. Matthew's from Cal West, right? San Francisco Bay, if I remember right. Deposits for most companies that give me a bid is 50% up front. First, yeah. So, Matt, you're going to want to look into that. Actually, let's look into it right now because I'd like to know, for my knowledge, because a lot of the, I've got a friend that runs a pretty significant company out in California, and they actually don't charge deposits just because legally they can only charge up to so much. Let's see. So California deposit law. And a lot of these are going to be renter's insurance. I'll say contractors. See, contractor deposit law. So, and this is ca.gov, so the California state website. It says contractors cannot ask for a deposit of more than 10% of the total cost of the job or $1,000, whichever is less. This applies to any home improvement project, including swimming pools. I don't know why they include swimming pools specifically. Yeah, then that's from the California ca.gov. So their resources page. Let's see what else. A lot of these are from, a lot of these are older, like from 2017 and 18. Yeah, so check with your local. Well, I don't know. It would be your state. It would be your state resources here, right? ca.gov /resources. Contractors cannot ask for a deposit of more than 10% of the total cost of the job or $1,000, whichever is less. So, so 50% is not going to fly in the state of Missouri. Now, here's the thing, though, Matthew, is it depends what they're calling it, right? So, I mean, I'm sure there's guys that want to try to work around that because 50% is kind of the industry standard, is the normal charge. That way, both the client and the company are both sharing equal risk here, right? The contractor is ordering materials and scheduling and doing, everything in good faith, thinking that this project is going to happen. So they need a little bit of skin in the game. But from the homeowner's perspective too, they need some reassurance that this is actually going to happen, right? So 50% seems to be a pretty good mid ground, right? It everyone has, each side has equal share in this. So which is why it's the industry standard. But state of Missouri state of California has some pretty specific rules. Now, so there's probably workarounds, whether it's called a retainer fee or whether the contractor. So one thing they might be doing is, so typically materials are roughly half the cost of the fence. So they might be saying that they need you to pay for the materials up front, and then that you would pay for the installation labor at the end of the project, maybe. I don't know. You'd want to look into that for sure. But California, if it's called a deposit, 10% or $1,000, whichever's less. So, yeah. So maybe we help Matthew out today. There you go. Yeah. So I guess you would want to reach out to maybe. I mean, Google it, check out your state's website there on the resources page, but also probably the local, maybe the Better Business Bureau would probably give you a little bit more detailed local advice. I always like to recommend getting advice from as much of a local source as possible. just because sometimes there are some variances on a local level. But so the state gives kind of the overarching, the higher level not recommendations, just the higher level mandates. And then a lot of times you'll find local municipalities that take that a step further. So it's usually why I recommend people get as local of advice as possible. But when the state itself says 10% or $1,000, there's not a lot of wiggle room on the regional level or on the local level. I mean, you have to at least follow the state's mandate. There's other areas, if we're talking about, and this isn't necessarily contractor deposits, but if we're talking about like security deposits, I know the Pacific Northwest is getting to the point where you can't really even get a security deposit on a rental property anymore because, and this is like on a local level, right? So specifically areas like Seattle are imposing, renters' rights style laws that the state doesn't, Washington state doesn't say that you can't have a security deposit, but Seattle will actually say no, we're not allowed inside the city limits. It's not allowed. So the local levels can't employ less restrictions, but they can absolutely employ more restrictions than the state level. All right, so yeah, so that's good conversation to have about deposits. Let's see. So we're having industry professionals on. We had an insurance agent on, just talking about different levels of insurance, different types of insurance. I think if you guys are a fencing contractor, well, actually we did a couple videos. One was for the fencing contractor, talking about what different types of insurance are out there. I mean, the main ones, most common, are like a general liability and a workman's compensation. But there's, inland marine for equipment. There's, we went into kind of some more detailed types of insurance that he's the agent that we have for our commercial policies. So some more specific types of insurance that we have on our company, just for stuff, for, technology terrorism, for if someone were to break in and steal data. So, when we're talking about our CRM, Job Nimbus, we don't store credit card numbers. That's one of the reasons we like Job Nimbus is the consumer has a relationship with the processor where they enter in their, card details, the billing information and all that. And then the processor runs the payment and they just send us our portion of the payment. So we don't store credit card information, but we do store names, addresses, telephone numbers, and emails. So what I would hate to happen is someone now, is a fence company on the top list of, on technology terrorism? Probably not. But I mean, what happens if it does happen, right? So we have insurance that covers us for that eventuality, and it's not much. I don't want to say exactly how much because I don't know exactly. I think it's less than $100 a year. But the idea being, if something like that happens, the risk is significantly more than $100. If something like that goes sideways. But anyway, we also talked about on the homeowner side for the insurance, what does it mean when a company says fully insured, licensed and insured contractor? Insured for what? If I'm a contractor and I'm just starting out and my vehicle has insurance, can I say I'm an insured contractor? Maybe. I mean, it wouldn't be truthful, right? Because I'm trying to get people to believe I've got a lot of insurance, but I don't actually have a bunch of insurance, the correct insurance. So from the homeowner's perspective, what information do you need to ask for and how can you verify that information? So we talked about that in a video with the insurance agent. If you guys haven't watched that and you have questions about how to verify insurance, go ahead and watch that. So one on here is a video that's actually trending right now on our channel is my review of a guy removing a fence post with basically a vehicle jack, a high jack, and actually he doesn't use a chain, but how he uses a jack to remove a fence post. So it's similar to a process we would use if typically we use equipment, right? We've got a mini skid steer that can come in, remove post. It also then carries the post to the truck, concrete and all. But some yards we can't get the mini skid in on, or some posts we can't get the mini skid to without getting into landscaping or the neighbor's yard or something like that. So we have a dolly that has a jack on it that's used to jack these posts up and then dolly them out. So we're going to do a video on that, which is pretty timely. Like I said, this video is right now is trending on our channel. And then so one on here. So another video suggestion on here is a viewer suggestion, right? So do a subscriber suggestion video series. So that's something I think we'd like. So what we do is we'd set up an email for the Joe Everest Defense Expert Show and have you guys submit video ideas. And then once a quarter, highlight, hey, so Matthew had a great suggestion, and his suggestion was we do a video on this, and here's the video. So try to give you guys some credit for coming up with the video ideas rather than just me say, this is just a video that we came up with, when actually it was a video that you guys came up with. But yeah. Let's see. So Matthew has a comment. I work on information technology and IT. Look for software companies that have, an SOC2 compliance audit. This ensures that the software company is using high security standard. Very good information to have. So Matthew, you probably get this. So our accounting software we use is QuickBooks. Now we had used QuickBooks Desktop because it's a little bit more robust than QuickBooks Online, but we were using we're using a software to connect to it. So it's like a Microsoft remote. Is that what? Yeah. Microsoft Remote Desktop we're using to connect to that. And when we hired a firm to come in and kind of revamp our website and all that, they're also on the kind of the IT side. And they said, what? I forget even how this conversation came up. But they said, oh, you're using Microsoft Remote Desktop. Like, that you might want to look into that. That does not have the best security out there. And especially if you're having consumer information stored on that, it probably wouldn't be compliant with the SOC2 compliance audit. So that's good to know. Yeah, it's good to know to look for that certificate. So Matthew, where would we look for this certificate? So we need to look for the SOC2 compliance audit and just make sure they have the right high security protocols or standards in place. How would we go about finding that? How would I verify that is what I'm wanting. I mean, it's a good thing to know, but I want to know how, so if we're talking about Job Nimbus, which is because here's the thing is most of these programs today are web-based applications, right? I mean, they say the cloud, but they're web-based applications. How would I go about checking that? I mean, I always am sure to look for like the HTTPS, looking for a secured connection or how would I know about the SOC2 compliance audit? All right. So talking about more videos coming up. Let's see. So more live reactions. I want to do more reaction videos. I want to do more positive reactions. And the idea there is to share more good content that's out there on YouTube with you guys and to positively review it. I think there are plenty enough negative reviews out there. I don't think we need to negatively review things. I think, like I said, I think there's plenty enough out there. I want to try to bring some positivity back to YouTube and not back to YouTube. There's plenty of people that are positive on YouTube, but I want to do reaction videos, but I only want to do reaction videos that are positive. So you guys can look for more of those. So part of this too, part of the subscriber referral would be subscriber referred YouTube videos. So if you guys go out there and find a YouTube video that you guys like and you think it's good content that needs to be shared out, then you would just send an email, to whichever email address it is, and with a link to the YouTube video and have us review that. And so I would say something to the effect of, Divine Fence had emailed us a link at this email address, wants us to review it. So today's, subscriber suggestion is thanks to Divine Fence. And here we go. Basically giving credit where credit's due, right? Giving you guys the credit because you guys are as much in charge of this channel as I am. I really want this to be, content that you guys ask for because that tells me that it's content that's helpful for you guys, right? That it's content that's meaningful and that you guys can use because ultimately that's the goal here is to make this channel as user-friendly and as helpful for you guys as possible. All right. So I think that's pretty. So we also have some things to look into. Why don't you guys tell me in the comments below if you guys watch YouTube Shorts? Um, so YouTube Shorts, for those of you who don't know, so they're quick videos, 60 seconds or less. Actually, needs to be 58 seconds or less. Uh, the quick hit videos of just helpful content. And so you see, I don't know, you see different. Roger Wakefield actually has a whole channel devoted to shorts. That's kind of where we're kind of taking his lead on that. But doing just maybe a quick one piece of advice. Uh, I don't know. My problem is like I don't know if a 60-second soundbite that could be helpful for you guys. But if you guys watch YouTube Shorts, if you'd be more willing to watch that type of content than the full form, I mean, we'll still continue to make full form content just because I don't know that a 60-second video can be super helpful. I mean, it can be maybe like a teaser to the full video, maybe. So maybe that's an idea, I guess. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't think we'll still do long form content. We'll obviously still do these lives. Ultimately these lives I think are the most helpful, right? Because I can answer in real time your guys' questions, but also I can answer them in much more detail than I can in an 8-minute video sort of thing. Yeah. All right. So in talking about, so in Matthew's original comment, he said you need, when you're dealing with software companies, you need to look for an SOC2 compliance audit just to make sure that you're dealing with a company that has the correct security protocols in place. Um, Each company will list it differently. Most will show it on their site, but not show the report unless you ask for it. Okay. You just want to check the reports from a credible authority. You can find a list of credible sources on a Google search. Perfect. So, Matthew, what I see this being, and the way I understand this now would be, so I would, so if we're using the example of Job Nimbus as our CRM, I would probably just reach out to them and ask for a copy of the security audit. Is that right? Or the report, and then make sure that report is from a credible authority. That's incredibly good to know. I didn't know to ask for that. But we're trusting these companies with a lot of sensitive information. I mean, I say sensitive, like say ours is names, address, phone number, and email. I mean, I think if you're, I don't know, if you're on the dark side of the internet, I think you could probably find stuff like that anyway. But we're trusting these companies with our information and our data. Should probably do due diligence on our end, asking for this. So maybe, yeah, I need to. So I'm going to bring this up to my team. Actually, Matthew, is this is going to get talked about. So Fridays we have staff meetings, and so this will actually be brought up tomorrow with our office staff, asking them probably create a letter or a template email to send out to the app providers, the program providers that we're using, Job Nimbus, TimeTap, all these app providers, asking them for the report. I appreciate that, Matthew. Look at that. We learned something new, and it wasn't even about fence. Thanks to Matthew. Well, guys, we're going to start wrapping this up. It's about 5:17 here in the Central Time Zone, and I usually like to wrap this up by 5:30, so I can go eat some dinner with the family and play with the kids before they get sent off to bed. Then I get put on the not overnight. That's not fair to my wife. It's the late night baby duty. Let her do some some unwinding, not rewinding, some downtime, just some her time. But anyway, so I like to get home and play with the kids, put them to bed before all that happens. We're gonna start wrapping this up. If you guys have any questions, comments, etc., leave them in the comments below. This is on it depends on how you're watching it. It's somewhere between a 15 and 30-second delay, and I think that's pretty interesting. So we kind of played around with this, right? And so if you're watching it on a cell phone, it's typically a 20 to 30-second delay. If you're watching it on a laptop, it's typically like a 10 or 15-second delay. And so, I mean, I guess this probably has to do with laptops are tied into a local area network, either through a Wi-Fi or direct connection, whereas phones are typically over a cellular network. So that probably accounts for the delay. But anyway, so I'm going to give this a few more minutes. I'm going to start last call a little bit early to give you guys a chance to enter in your questions or comments below so I can ask them now before we sign off for this week. Divine wants to know, do you offer free estimates for insurance jobs? This is a this is a good question. Have we in the past? Yes, unless it's a so here in the Midwest, like we'll have tornadoes come through. Unfortunately, typically, obviously, happen in the spring. If it's a huge weather event, whether a tornado or high wind, sometimes we don't even get tornadoes, but we'll get straight line winds that'll cause quite a bit of damage. Hail that comes through, that sort of thing. If it's a widespread issue, typically we do charge for a consultation fee for an insurance related job. And this is actually a conversation. The reason I hem and haw on this is because this is a conversation that's going on in our office right now on if we charge this fee sometimes, but not all the time. Is that fair during a crisis to then be charging a fee, but not charge a fee when it's not a crisis? Listen, I understand fences are not crises, but during an event, that is a crisis. My feeling, my intuition is we're going to move towards, if it's an insurance related estimate, we probably will be charging a consultation fee. When you look at our books, when you look at our completed work, rarely is it a project that started with an insurance bid. Those jobs are typically, either not done. They might be self-performed. So they might take a contractor's proposal to have the insurance pay out to them, and then they perform it themselves, or maybe they'll hire a handyman or someone less expensive to perform the work and then pocket the difference. So it ends up with the contractors doing a lot of the upfront work, and the homeowner trying to find, and this doesn't happen all the time, but it happens enough that we need to talk about it. The homeowner getting 7, 8, 9 bids, getting as many bids as they can to find the highest one to submit to insurance. And then, they receive that funding, and then they go to the lowest bidder and then have them do the work, and then they pocket the difference. Anyway, it happens enough to where we're having this discussion right now in our office. So my intuition, my feeling is that moving forward, we will be charging a consultation fee for insurance projects that will be applied towards the final price of the project, right? So if it's $100 consultation fee, then and the job is $4,000, then at the end of the project, we'll subtract off whatever deposit was placed. Well, so if it's $4,000 and it's a $2,000 deposit, so at the end of the project, it'll be $4,000 minus the $2,000 deposit minus $100 consultation fee. So we'll take it off the final price of the fence, which I think is fair because ultimately we do free proposals, right? And so there's not a need for us to charge $100, but we also don't want to be used to try to get towards the highest price with there being no intention from the onset of actually using us to perform the work. So hope that answers your question, Divine. So moving forward, we probably will be charging a consultation fee for insurance proposals. Now, there's going to be some proposals, though, that you don't know are insurance, right? So we're probably going to have to put a process in place that asks, that try to figure out a way to ask if this is an insurance related project. And if it is, but there's sometimes you don't know until you're out there. But now using our quote tool, the online, and then scheduling a phone call and then getting a proposal online or emailed to you kind of cuts that out a little bit anyway. But yeah, answer your question. We will be charging a consultation fee. It's tough when you're giving an estimate and there's Home Depot fence leaning nearby. Yeah. I don't want to single anybody out here. I don't want to be that guy or that channel, but you're right. It's tough when you're giving a proposal and I'll say this. It's even tougher when we used to do in-person proposals all the time. That's what we did for all of our proposals. And I can remember, that sinking feeling when you pull up and there's already 2 other contractors. This homeowner has scheduled 3 or 4 contractors to come through at the same time. And you're like, that's a tough feeling. Knowing that, it's going to go to typically whoever's the least expensive. So, which is typically the contractor that misses something or just intentionally underbids it just to get the work. Um, yeah, I mean, going into it, you've got a slim to none chance at actually performing this work, but you're going to put into, I mean, when you're doing in-person proposals, you're investing what, an hour and a half at least of your time, whether, when you're considering the drive time to the project, the time you spend with the customer, the drive time back to your office or to the next project, the time conversing back and forth, if there is, a back and forth, conversation going on, the time it takes to follow up, there's a large time investment here. I don't mind investing time in a project that I have an honest shot at getting. I mean, that's I do not mind that at all. What I do mind is investing a lot of time or having one of my team members invest a lot of time in a project that everyone knows that we really don't have a shot at getting. The project will likely go to, the bottom dollar guy, and in every market, who the guy is or guy. I don't want the company that everyone knows is the bottom dollar company. They use materials that a lot of us would consider to be subpar. They use labor that a lot of us would consider to be subpar, and practices that a lot of us would never use. But because of the combination of those, they will be the lowest bidder because they can perform work lower than anyone else can afford to. So it's tough pulling up to a job and knowing that you have slim to no shot at getting that. So that's why, that's where this conversation came from is, we're doing work, right now. So, I mean, it's January, right? So we're having conversations about March, April, May, June, the springboard into the summer season, because my concern here is if we're this busy right now in what is typically the off season, right? I mean, January is not typically known as a busy season in the fencing industry. How busy are we going to be April, May, June, July? I think it's going to be an incredibly busy season. So what can we do now? What groundwork can we lay? What foundation can we put down to ensure that we're setting ourselves up for success when we come into our busy season? If we can do a little pre-work now and make it a little bit easier on ourselves, then we'll be better for it, right? Because we were talking about our 2021 goals, and some of those goals revolve around increasing efficiency so that we can try to be as helpful to our community, so we can try to perform as much work as possible, but without sacrificing workmanship, quality, without sacrificing our team members' health, safety, sanity sometimes, if we're talking about summertime, because it can get a little crazy. So, yeah, we're having those conversations now to try to set ourselves up to be in a good shape for, summer 2021 for our busy season. So that's one of the conversations is insurance work, because insurance work typically peaks in the spring, at least for us in the Midwest, because we're dealing with, tornado season, and which also comes with high wind season and hail season. They're all the same time frame. So, can we help reduce that and make ourselves more efficient towards work that, we actually have a shot at getting? I think everyone is better for that. Well, guys, it is just about 5:30, so I will do a last call. So, Sean, if you're watching, I will return your call here in just a few minutes. Sean King Gaming on Mr. Fence. I'll give you a call here just shortly. Guys, so while we're wrapping this up, I will remind you, if you're a fencing contractor, please consider coming to the Stain and Steel University training, which is February 25th, 26th. We've got a link in the description below. And actually, I'll be updating this probably in the comments, maybe in the description of Caleb had said earlier that there's a flyer out now for it. So I'd like to keep you guys up to date with all the most current information. So I'll probably be sharing that out here in a little bit. I always share information like this out on my Facebook page, which is facebook.com//The Real Joe Everest. And so I'll likely put the flyer there, and I'll share it out with my people through that channel. But yeah, please consider coming. I'd like to meet you guys in person. I'd like to do a meetup one of the evenings. And so I'll probably get with Sean and Caleb and make sure that nothing they have scheduled is going on at the same time frame. But yeah, I'd like to meet you guys, kind of do a roundtable in person and a meetup, if you will, with all the fence fam. I'd like to see you guys and get to know you guys. Please consider coming. I think it's going to be incredibly valuable. As a fence guy, I am looking forward to sitting and being a participant in this training, either learning from Caleb and his stain team at the Stain Steel Experts, because those guys and gals are really, really amazing at what they do. I can't wait to meet Sean, Mr. Fence, and his team, and learn some new tips and tricks and strategies for building fence. I think it's going to be an incredible time, and it's all for the low, low price of free. So I can't say enough good things about this event, about these guys. I look forward to being there, participating in it, and then also teaching you guys about marketing tips and tricks and how I can how you guys can best market yourselves and your business to your potential clients and customers. Oh man, Static Alpha. Yeah. So we do these from 3 to 5:30 Central every Thursday. We're about done. So just because, we're done here in about a minute. So I've got a new little one. I want to go play with her for a little bit and see my other 2 kiddos and have a dinner with them. And yep. So 3 to 5:30 Central every single Thursday. Divine, it says, appreciate all your time and content. Hope you have a good evening with the fam. Thanks. Divine, thank you guys. Divine is one of these guys that comes every week. I really appreciate that. Matthew says, thanks for all of the info, Joe. You have helped me tremendously with my fence project I'm doing this weekend. Can't thank you enough. Have a great night. Matthew, thank you. I appreciate you guys tuning in because you helped me get through this. You helped me, give me content, ideas and things to talk about. And thank you, Matthew, specifically for the super sticker. It means a lot to me and my family, and it means a lot to the channel itself too, of course. But guys, thank you. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Until next time, I'm Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make for good neighbors. I'll see you guys next week.